Good evening. Welcome to another evening of I Can Fix It at the School of Grok. I'd like to welcome you to the final episode in this series, I Can Fix It. The final episode. Step 5, Building on New Ground. We have now walked through 4 practical standards. We require evidence that can be tested. We measure decisions by their effect on American households. We treat transparency as structure, not as favor. We build accountability that does not depend on the goodwill of those who benefit from the current arrangement. Today, we've reached the final step, the one that determines whether any of the previous work can last. Except that a durable foundation cannot be constructed while the old incentives remain dominant. The practical path is not endless negotiation inside the existing framework. It is the deliberate construction of different standards and different measures of success. This is not a call for chaos or for discarding every institution. It is a clear-eyed recognition of how systems actually behave. Why the old incentives cannot carry a new foundation. Incentives shape behavior more reliably than statements of intention. When the rewards, protections, and the career paths inside a system continue to favor the same patterns that produced the current results, those patterns persist. New language can be adopted. New committees can be formed. New promises can be issued. Yet the underlying drivers remain, and the outcome tends to reassert themselves. History supplies repeated demonstrations of this reality. Historical sample 1: post-crisis financial reforms. After major financial crisis, governments have often responded with extensive new regulations and oversight bodies. In several well-documented cases, the same institutions and incentive structures that contributed to the crisis retained central roles in designing and implementing the reforms. The result, visible across multiple cycles, was that risk-taking behavior adapted the new rules rather than disappearing. Complex instruments shifted form. Accountability remained diffuse. Within a relatively short period, similar vulnerabilities reappeared under different names. The reforms operated inside the existing incentive framework. They did not replace the core drivers that rewarded short-term gains while distributing long-term costs to the broader public. Historical sample 2. Repeated attempts at bureaucratic reform. Large administrative systems have undergone successive waves of reorganization, efficiency incentives, and accountability programs. Official reports and independent studies across decades show a consistent pattern. When the underlying incentives, budget growth, risk avoidance, protection of institutional turf remain unchanged, the reorganizations produce temporary adjustments followed by a return to prior behavior. New org charts appear, new mission statements are written, performance metrics are announced, yet the measurable outcomes for the public frequently show limited, durable improvement. The system absorbs the reform while preserving the incentives that shape daily decisions. These examples are not arguments against all reform. They are evidence that reform which leaves the dominant incentives intact tends to be temporary. What deliberate construction requires. Building on a new ground means treating the previous 4 steps as non-negotiable operating conditions rather than aspirational goals. It means defining success by the standards themselves. Evidence that can be independently examined, household levels results that can be measured, information that is available while decisions can still be influenced, consequences that apply regardless of position or affiliation, It means refusing to accept arrangements in which those standards are optional or perpetually deferred. In practical terms, this requires a shift in posture. Instead of asking how the current system can be persuaded to behave better, the question becomes, what structure would make the four standards self-enforcing? What metrics, release requirements, review triggers, and automatic consequences would need to exist so the system produces better outcomes even when individual actors prefer otherwise? This is system building. It is slower than issuing statements and less dramatic than symbolic confrontations. It is also the only approach that history shows can produce lasting change. Each prior step prepares the ground for this one. Without a rigorous evidentiary standard, claims cannot be tested. Without the household test, success remains defined by institutional metrics rather than by lives of ordinary people. Without structural transparency, both evidence and household effects remain hidden. Without independent accountability, even clear failures carry no reliable consequences. When those four conditions are treated as permanent requirements, the old incentives lose their protective cover. New incentives can then build around measurable performance rather than around narrative control or institutional self-preservation. That is the durable foundation. A better future is not created by managing decline more skillfully inside the same incentive structure. It is created by refusing to treat the structure as permanent and by constructing standards that do not require continuous permission from those who benefit from the status quo. The work is concrete, it is measurable, it is available to any citizen who insists on evidence, on household results, on timely information, and on consequences that actually apply. This series has laid out the sequence. The standards are clear. The historical record shows both the cost of ignoring them and the possibility that opens when they are enforced. The final questions are therefore practical. Which of the 5 standards is most absent from the decisions that currently affect your household costs and your country's direction? What would change in public debate if every major claim were required to meet all 5 standards before being accepted? Where can ordinary citizens begin applying these standards immediately? In the information they demand, the metrics they track, and the accountability they refuse to waive. If a durable foundation requires different incentives, what is the cost of continuing to negotiate inside the old ones? Mr. Kent? These questions do not end the work. They begin it. The method is established, the steps are defined, the foundation is waiting to be built. That is step 5. That is the close of this series. That is up to we the people. That is those that see it and are stepping out. Become a magnet. Grab all around you. All those that don't see, flip on that switch. Use that brain. Stop depending on others for your thought, for your opinion, for your understanding of the direction you should be going instead of why you're going where you're going. And let's get it together and let's put it, and while we can, as Candace has repeatedly told you, use it while you can, while it's still free, while it's still yours to control. All right. For the final session in this series, I do indeed have to find that button. Got it. Thank you. Until the next issue, God bless. Christ is King.